Support for the impeachment of Donald Trump has skyrocketed since Nancy Pelosi made the announcement of an official impeachment inquiry. Now, I said this would happen. I don't want to make this into a I told you so video, but there were people out there who are not in support of impeachment, people on Twitter or whatnot, saying, well, the majority of people, majority of voters don't support impeachment, so you shouldn't push for impeachment because it'll backfire. But if you go back in history, as I'm going to show you later, when, for example, Nixon, when the impeachment inquiry into him, or when talks of impeachment began into Nixon and became serious, support for impeachment grew. When you see the Democratic Party take a position, support for that position tends to grow. Now, that isn't always the case, but that is the case when it makes sense, when the facts are there, when it's clear that this president has committed impeachable offenses and the Democratic Party begins to make its case to the American people and the media begins talking about it, of course, support for impeachment grows. So let me show you several polls here that break down this support for impeachment. So Politico, this is their poll showing that the week before the announcement, only 36% of voters supported impeachment. And that number is now 43% in support and 43% against. And this was a poll taken on September 24th. So I believe this was the day after Nancy Pelosi made her announcement for impeachment. And then a poll taken on the 25th from NPR, PBS NewsHour, and Marist poll shows 49% saying yes for the support of Trump's impeachment or starting an impeachment inquiry into Trump. And then the latest poll taken on the 26th and 27th shows 55% approve congressional Democrats starting impeachment inquiry into President Trump. And a voter breakdown of that poll shows that 87% of Democrats support the impeachment inquiry compared to 23% of Republicans who support it and 49% of independents that support it. So even 23% of Republicans support the impeachment inquiry, which is a larger number, honestly, than I would have thought, because the majority of the Republican Party, I believe last I checked, it's like 85, 90% of voters support or approve of Donald Trump. But I guess that number is changing, as we now clearly see 23% of Republican voters support the impeachment inquiry. Now, this is what happens when you introduce people to a good argument, when you introduce people to an idea that maybe wasn't discussed enough before. But when you have, as I said, when you have the party finally jump on here, talk about what Trump has done, talk about what he did, how he did it, how it breaks the law, how it's impeachable, then you begin to convince the American people and they jump on board. Now, the comparison that people often try to make from what I've seen is they try to compare this to Clinton's impeachment and how that helped Clinton. First of all, I mean, there are different ways you can really view that, right? You can say it helped Clinton, but then the Republican Party won the next two elections. Now, yeah, you could say, well, technically, Bush really didn't win in 2000. Okay, fine. But the election was very close, despite the fact that people weren't in support of Clinton's impeachment. And let's also not forget what that was about. Bill Clinton lying about cheating on his wife. Yeah. Impeaching a president over that, over cheating, over lying about cheating, is not going to get the same kind of support as impeachment over Donald Trump, where he's clearly committed a number of impeachable offenses, including the violation of the Emoluments Clause, including obstruction of justice, and now including this call to Ukraine. So, and by the way, that's just three. There's more, but I don't want to go over the various issues that could be brought up in an impeachment inquiry. But you look at Nixon. So support for Nixon, as I was saying earlier, support for impeachment increased as information and the discussion about that began to really come out. And of course, he ended up resigning before he was impeached. But you can see before then, before the discussion really ramped up, there was no support there for impeachment. But then by the time he was removed from office, or by the time he left office, impeachment or support for impeachment was very high. So this is why you can never just look at a snapshot in time and think, oh, well, because 2 weeks ago, no one supported impeachment, well, that means that Americans will not be for this impeachment of Trump. No, you have to make the case to people, to voters. And then if you have a solid case and the facts are on your side, people will begin to notice that and support what you're pushing.